Hi there. This morning I've been watching Lifeblood, a truly exceptional series by Manchester United. It poignantly defines the DNA of this football club, captured brilliantly by a talented media team featuring heroes on and off the pitch who continue to make our academy the best in the world. But the truth is that things aren't quite what they seem. Since Lifeblood was filmed, we've seen many key characters depart, while the man who wants to be seen as the saviour of Manchester United stands accused of killing the lifeblood of this football club by cutting absolutely everything to the bone, including our most valuable assets, our human resources. His cuts are reaching every single department, from coaching to media, from office staff to key personnel, loyal servants who've lived and breathed Manchester United Football Club. The hardest pill of all to swallow is our academy stars are all on the market too, at the right price. Episode 1 of Lifeblood stars Alejandro Garnacho, who's already been another huge success story for our academy. Along with Kobbie Mainoo, Garnacho is the most successful graduate of our FA Youth Cup winning team of 3 years ago. I was there on the Stretford end when Garnacho scored 2 goals in that Youth Cup final. We all watched with pride as our kids followed in the footsteps of Jimmy Murphy's young heroes who won the FA Youth Cup for the first 5 years it was staged back in the 50s. But behind those celebrations for that triumphant class of 2022 lay a shocking truth. The financial mess created by the Glazers is out of control. It's now so bad that Manchester United is not only a selling club, but we're relying on the academy to get us out of the biggest disaster this club has been in since Munich. Without the resources to sign the best players in the world, we've now got to create a pipeline of stars to breathe new life into this football club. That makes the role of the academy as important as it's ever been. Without the academy continuing to churn out world-class talent, this football club may never recover from this horrendous black hole of debt and mismanagement. As I've said before, the financial clusterfuck created by the Glazers is nothing short of criminal. The fact that Ratcliffe now says he's going to keep cutting this football club to the bone to save Manchester United is a shocking admission of just how bad things have been allowed to deteriorate. But is Ratcliffe's way to fix things the right way? Does the road to recovery really have to be as grim and painful as Ratcliffe wants us to believe? Maybe this ruthless billionaire will eventually make MUFC a strong profit-making business once again someday, but at what cost? And for whose benefit? A year into Ratcliffe bailing the Glazers out with the money to keep the business ticking over, the wreckage of the club's demise looks worse than ever. And Ratcliffe wants you to believe it's his way or the highway. Just like the Tories ripped the heart out of Britain with years of austerity, Ratcliffe threatens to do the same with Manchester United. But I'm not buying it. Ratcliffe has the wealth to fix things if he really wants to. Convert the club's £1 billion of debt into equity in the business, and the threat of PSR immediately disappears. The football club would no longer be burdened by annual interest repayments of £60 to £65 million. That's £60 to £65 million going out of this football club every single year just to stand still. If we'd sold Garnacho in the transfer window that's just closed, we'd only have paid 1 year's interest on the club's debt. Just think about that for a minute. It's the biggest reason this football club is financially vulnerable. And letting that debt fester is hugely damaging to our future. Ratcliffe has a personal fortune that makes him worth up to £30 billion. He has the resources to fix this if he really wants to. But he'd rather make fans, former players and hard-working staff suffer instead. He wants us to pay for the club's mismanagement, and he says that's the only way out of this mess. Truth is, Ratcliffe thinks Manchester United fans are stupid. He sold us a lie when he took over and said he'd put the Manchester back into Manchester United. Now he thinks he can double down with more lies about how he's going to save this football club from going bankrupt. He's already cut 250 jobs at Old Trafford, and now another 200 jobs are on the line. Ratcliffe wants you to believe these cuts are unavoidable because the club is in a far worse situation than anyone ever realised. But if Manchester United are really on the verge of bankruptcy, then why did Ratcliffe pay £1.3 billion or whatever it was for a minority share? Did the Glazers give Ineos fake accounts when they inspected the books? How thorough was their due diligence? If the Glazers didn't reveal the full extent of the club's perilous financial position, then why isn't Ratcliffe taking legal action to sue the Glazers for false accounting? When you said you were going to put the Manchester back into Manchester United, Mr. Ratcliffe, what were you actually talking about? All you've done this past year is rip the heart and soul out of this football club. And I can tell you for a fact that fans and former players are actually beginning to hate you. I'm not going to name names because I respect confidentiality and the interests of the former players and fans I've been speaking to. But you know, what I'm saying is true, Mr. Ratcliffe. If anything, the hatred for you, maybe hatred's a strong word, fans and former players are not trusting you anymore. But the situation is that the hatred or mistrust is a lot worse than most people realise. How's that for some harsh reality? What's disgusting is how Ratcliffe announced the latest round of job cuts on the day of Dennis Law's funeral. And Ratcliffe wasn't even there to pay his respects to one of our greatest ever players. Ruben Amorim was there, Sir Alex Ferguson was there, Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire were there. So was a galaxy of stars from United, from City, from Scotland. Even Liverpool legend Kenny Dalglish was there to pay his final respects to Dennis Law. How telling that there was a no-show by Ratcliffe and the Glazers. Neither were the owners anywhere to be seen at last week's Munich memorial services on February the 6th. It's an absolute disgrace that the owners do not respect our legacy and our history. All it seems they value is how to turn that history and legacy into more personal wealth. Tell us the truth, Mr. Ratcliffe, about how much money you're going to make out of property development now that the government are going to back your Old Trafford regeneration scheme. As I outlined in a previous video, the truth is that Ratcliffe and the Glazers will hit the jackpot when a new stadium development is surrounded by an urban and commercial regeneration that the government projects will make the country billions and billions of pounds. Not only would the value of the football club soar, and that's what seriously benefits the shareholders, but Manchester United also own 2 substantial plots of land which could generate hundreds of millions of pounds when the Old Trafford area is turned from a worthless wilderness into prime real estate. Even without the government spending a single pound of public money on the stadium, the owners will receive a financial windfall. In theory, that will benefit the football club. But once the football club starts making a profit again, then who's going to stop the owners rewarding themselves with massive bonuses? And by that stage, how badly will the heart and soul of this football club be damaged? In the meantime, the team is being starved of cash to bolster the playing squad because previous poor decisions have made the club's dire cash flow an even greater headache. At this moment in time, there are more questions than answers. Maybe Mr. Ratcliffe will be the saviour who makes Manchester United great again, or maybe he won't. His vision is to see this football club thrive in a brand new stadium. But as I keep saying, at what cost? Fans, I expect, will be paying £200 a ticket or more to watch in a new stadium. Old Trafford will be demolished along with links to our legacy and our history. And how long will it be before this football club is back winning Premier Leagues and Champions League trophies? It took Busby and Murphy a decade to rebuild this football club and make us champions of Europe after Munich. Now we need that pride and that spirit to make us great again. We need the lifeblood that's currently being drained away by Mr. Ratcliffe.